Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Hello and welcome back. How are you this week, Belle?
Great, thanks Kirsty. I've had my head down. I'm writing about turtle tracking on remote islands in the Northern Territory. I'm writing about fabulous Malaysian state of Sarawak in Borneo. And I'm also writing about top 5 European hotspots. How about you?
What great things to be writing about. It's been a busy week for me too over at Signature Media. We've just put the 40th anniversary issue of Vacations and Travel to print, V&T's Australia's longest running travel magazine. So it was a pretty special issue and you can look out for it in the newsstands in the next week. It's filled with 40 places to stay, 40 experiences and top 40 destinations. And I'll post a link in the show notes to where you can subscribe because if you want to get one delivered to your door because it's a pretty special edition to hold on to.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. I'm sure that there are plenty of places to stay that have great outdoor showers and tubs. And the reason for this rather weird segue is because last week when I interviewed Kathleen Olive on the show, her most bizarre travel memory was when she accidentally showered with her street-level windows open onto Italy's most glamorous town, Bellagio. And it got me thinking about the incredible outdoor showers and tubs around the world where you do actually want to get your gear off.
To be honest, I have actually had a similar experience in Fiji where I've been blissfully showering in the outdoor shower. Can I say it was actually attached to my villa, so it's not like I stripped down and paraded myself outside. But little did I know there were local men climbing the coconut trees outside to do maintenance. So, yes, needless to say, it was bathers all the way from there on.
Ah, nice. Yeah, look, I've had some great outdoor shower experiences too. Most recently at the new Super Lux Jumeirah Bali down near Uluwatu. It was extremely private, can I say, with very high stone walls. But my villa was actually right beside the massive reception, so you could hear movement on the other side, which kept my showers a bit short.
Bit off-putting, isn't it? And Bali and Fiji aren't the only ones with incredible outdoor showers, though. Didn't you have an experience in Oman too, Belle?
Yeah, I've got a great memory of showering under the hot Arabian sun in the Six Senses resort in Ziggy Bay in northern Oman, which is not normally the region you'd associate with such experiences. And also the Maldives, which does a masterclass in outdoor bathing with outdoor showers and tubs suspended above lagoons. Gorgeous, gorgeous.
Oh, and besides our outdoor shower faux pas, there are some amazing outdoor bathtub experiences too, starting with a myriad in Africa. I mean, soaking in a deep tub full of bubbles while wildlife roam meters beside you. It's pretty a magical experience, actually. Check out Summer Lisa Camp in Zimbabwe for one that is a very exceptional experience. And then in Vietnam, Six Senses in Ninh Van Bay, there are some handmade wooden bathtubs overlooking the ocean. And closer to home at El Questro in the Kimberley, there's also an outdoor bath overlooking a gorge.
Oh, I found myself in that tub too. Not at the same time, but gorgeous spot. And in Kakadu a couple of weeks ago, Kuinda's new tented villas have outdoor baths, outdoor tubs on their balconies.
And did you try that one too, Belle?
No, I didn't go in because they're so new. They were still getting the screening plants up in between each tent, so I thought I'd spare the neighbours. So, okay, tell me, who are you chatting to this week, Kirsty?
This week, I caught up with social entrepreneur, New York best-selling author and founder of adventure travel company G Adventures, Bruce Poon Tip. Bruce has long been known for his work in community tourism, championing the cause of ensuring we give back to the communities we visit. And he talked to me from Toronto about over-tourism and what you can do as an individual to ensure you're not just treading lightly when you travel, but you're leaving a destination in a better place than when you came. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's so great to have you chatting to us today. Let's start by just talking about your latest accolade, Officer of the Order of Canada, which made you the first person in the Canadian travel industry to receive the title of officer in 34 years. You must be incredibly proud about that.
Yeah, it was a shock, actually. Yeah, it was. I knew I was getting recognized. There's a long investigation period, but there's a member and then there's a higher order, which is the officer. So I was quite pleasantly surprised when I got the call.
So tell us about sort of how G Adventures started and how you got into launching your business.
Well, we started 33 years ago this September. Back in 1990, travel was just very different, and we had a view on community tourism. Like when we first started, it was about bringing people to local communities and having cultural kind of immersion type experiences. Back in 1990, people, it was completely different. People researched travel differently. I mean, there was no internet. I didn't even have a fax machine actually when I started. My first reservations I did by post, by mail. We kind of, spearheaded a whole, style of tourism, and it was extremely innovative at the time. And even though, like in the mid '90s, ecotourism came to, kind of link environment and tourism, and then sustainable tourism and responsible tourism. All these different, we always were very focused on community and community development and how tourism can be a transformational industry for local communities if done right, with local communities benefiting and also being in part involved in the dialogue of creating tourism for customers. And so with that, we've done a lot of great work over the years. We've become, tied to poverty alleviation through tourism, because when there's extreme poverty and tourism kind of link, because we're traveling to some of the 40 poorest countries in the world, travel can be this transformational vehicle for wealth distribution and poverty alleviation. So we've done a lot of great work over the years. We've become kind of globally acknowledged as the world leader in our space. And because of that, through our foundation, Planetera, we were recognized by the Order of Canada, which has been, I guess, ultimately through the King, because it's through our Governor General, through the royal family, and it's quite an honor.
You obviously walk the walk rather than just talk the talk. So tell us a bit about, what are some of the things that travellers can do, and what are some of the things that you're doing and the places people can go where you can genuinely really make a difference?
I mean, there's lots of different things you can do. I mean, the main thing is about local impact, right? Like cultural and cultural heritage preservation. So there's many ways in which you can look at sustainability. There's obviously connected to environment and climate change, and also there's poverty alleviation, community development, all of these different things which all link towards sustainability. Travelers first of all can get off cruise ships, get off compound resorts, spend money with local communities, local hotels, local restaurants, shop in different shops that are locally owned, and spread your wealth when you travel. I mean, that's the best thing you can do when you travel. And suddenly, your idea of going on holidays is not just transformational for you; it's transformational for people locally. It's the problem is with business models today where money doesn't stay in the local economy. Local communities are not benefiting from the growth of tourism in those countries, and that's not a sustainable model.
And it really seems back to what you've talked about in the past, which is about how we're becoming unconscious consumers. Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Well, tourism used to be just a one-way experience, and until kind of we came around and to kind of pose the question that it's not just about your experience, and it's that idea that travel is my right and not a privilege, and really travel is a privilege of the Western world. Like, there's very few people on the planet that have disposable income at the time to be able to go on holidays and say they want to go on holidays, and so that's a real privileged position that we have, and it's not a right. Travelers who it traditionally has been this one-way experience of what you're going to get out of your experience, what you're going to see, you paying for luxury services or paying for a level of service so you get the comforts of home. That one-way experience is really something that we've questioned at G Adventures for years, and said it isn't, there's so many more people that can benefit when you go on holidays, and you can have that luxury, you can have that amazing holiday, you can have that amazing experience, but if done the right way, it's transformational for everyone. So it's a whole community that benefits once you decide to go on holidays.
I think probably one of the most powerful ways I've seen a demonstration of this was in your new travel documentary, The Last Tourist. Can you tell us a bit about that, why you decided to launch that, and what are some of the the things. I mean, it is when you watch that and you see people, the way wildlife is treated, and people going into orphanages and taking photos with the children in there. It's really moving, and I think it really hits home about exactly what you're talking about. So obviously that was the reason behind doing that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, The Last Tourist was a crazy project. That it started as just an idea of us doing a movie on our iPhones, just telling our story, to realizing this is a big story, and it's kind of motivated because I'm highly in demand for public speaking around the world, and my message just resounds with whether it's travelers or travel industry. Usually standing ovations with people that really resonate with the message of, and I can only do so much because I have a company to run as well. And so I wrote a book in 2013, and the next medium for us was a documentary to get that message across, because people really understand it when you put it in front of them. I always say The Last Tourist didn't present new ideas. I mean, everything there is I think that people knew happened, but when presented to you and you're confronted with it, it makes you think. But ultimately, the movie is a message of hope on how tourism can be so much better, and we can be so much better when we decide to go on vacation. So it was an idea that 5 years ago we started, and it grew. Eventually, we hired a writer and then a director, and then we did then I funded it, and we did it all backwards. Then we have to sell it to the movie industry and the documentary industry, and it was a learning experience. But it's been extremely powerful and very successful.
We'll put a link in the show notes to where people can watch that, because it is really very moving and a good demonstration of exactly what you're talking about. So can you tell us specifically about some of the places that are doing it, poorly, and some of the places that are actually doing things, in a way that we should be supporting and encouraging?
Some of the best countries. In Australia, New Zealand does very well. Costa Rica, these countries that have really built a long-term plan on sustainability, community development, creating, preserving of natural heritage and cultural heritage. And putting it at the forefront of the business model. And New Zealand and the 100% Pure campaign started it, I think it was 25 years ago now. I was involved in some of the original kind of launches of. I spoke in New Zealand a few times with the launch of that campaign, and it's had its ups and downs, mind you. But with that resounding message has always been very clear, and it's filtered right down to the tour operators and sellers of tourism in New Zealand. Costa Rica is another great example of that. Belize is a country which is, it's a very small country and very hard to travel to from Australia. But again, doing it very, very well. And Australia too. Australia has an issue because it's got so many different. It's such a massive tourism market. It's never really completely nailed it, but the intention is there with Australian tourism, and they've kind of moved in the right direction, because there's great opportunities in Australia for Indigenous tourism as well. There's lots of the issues is where countries aren't doing it well is the countries that kind of are highlighting this problem with over tourism. Like the Venices of the world, the Machu Picchus of the world, where people, mass amounts of people congregate, and how you handle mass tourism like that and over tourism.
So what are some tips that you can give as an individual traveller? How can I make sure that I'm making the right decisions and having a positive impact?
It really is just about doing a little bit more research, scratching the surface on the companies you book with, asking questions, because everyone should know. Like when you book anything, you should be able to ask them where your money's going. I always say follow the money. UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, says it's less than $10 a day stays in the economy, the local economy, when you travel. But you can ask these questions, staying in locally owned hotels when you're booking a hotel, looking at local options, and just asking those questions. Who owns the hotel? Where is that money going? And it's those kind of things where you can have the most impact. And then when you get locally, spread the wealth. Don't go to the advised shopping stops where they give you a list, because there's a good chance you're getting kickbacks, and there's motivation there. Go out shopping at different places, eat at different restaurants, use different taxi drivers, different tour leaders in different cities and towns. And that's the best thing you can do. Just doing a little bit more research, and you're going to have it might be just a little bit more work, but you're going to have a much better experience.
Fantastic. That's just really great advice, and I could talk about this with you for hours, but we are running out of time. So let's just move to our final question, which is, what's the most bizarre situation you've found yourself in during your travels?
Oh my goodness! I mean, that is a really open question. I mean, I've had so many, but one of our very first tourism projects was in northern Bolivia, where we kind of brought a bunch of and we built a rainforest lodge with 6 communities that were at war previously for years, but came together to build this tourism project. And I was on my way to go out to see it for the first time. And on transferring out to the river, when I was got a message that Prince Charles was in Bolivia visiting, and he was coming out to the lodge. And as I was transferring out there, it shut down because Prince Charles was going to be visiting with his entourage, and I was stuck on the river with no accommodation because I was heading to this lodge to stay at, and they informed me that it was being shut down as I was traveling out there. Of course, which caused all kinds of issues, and I had to go back to the nearest town in the middle of the night in dugout canoes on the Amazon, trying to find accommodations. But I found myself in a very awkward situation.
Oh, look, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, and thank you so much for your time today, Bruce.
Bruce Poon Tip is just so inspiring, isn't he? I read his book, Looptail, How One Company Changed the World by Reinventing Business, and the foreword is by the Dalai Lama. And if that's given you an appetite for more ethical ways to travel, visit gadventures.com or go to our website, theworldawaits.au, to see the show notes from this episode.
You're listening to The World Awaits.
Our tip this week is for those who want to travel solo. I've been a solo traveller on and off through the years through the Middle East, India and in Greece, and my top advice would be to choose your accommodation well. When all else fails, you need to be able to come back to a safe, reliable bed, be it a hostel or a fancy hotel.
Yeah, safety definitely first. And solo travelling is definitely a trend on the rise too. Webjet actually recently reported a 78% increase in bookings from solo travellers in the year to March 31, and many are women who either don't have someone to travel with or they just want to discover the world on their own. But why did you choose to travel alone, Belle?
There's various reasons. I mean, that trip to Greece was actually a visa run when I was in Egypt. So that saw me skipping across to what I thought was going to be a weekender in Athens, but it stretched out to include a trip out to the glorious car-free island of Hydra off the Peloponnese.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, and such great walks, and it's an amazing spot. But what really changed solo travel for me was the arrival of Uber in the Middle East, and that was a game changer for my safety. So I use ride-sharing apps because you know the number plate of the car you're getting into, and when I start the trip, I use the platform's share option to send my route to somebody responsible. So your journey is traceable, and that gives me a lot of comfort when I'm a solo traveller.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And while this might seem an obvious one too, be mindful of being connected, remaining and staying connected. So find somewhere to stay that has free Wi-Fi, and consider where you're going and if there's mobile coverage too, in case that you find yourself in a tricky situation.
I think that when you're travelling solo, you also need to be able to manage your gear as well, because nobody else is going to carry your bags for you. So pack with intent.
And in places like India, consider blending in with what you're wearing. So you're probably going to stand out anyway with your clothes or the way that you're acting, taking photos of every single thing, and keep the jewellery at a minimum. And if locals aren't flashing the flesh, then you don't need to either.
Yeah, I've worn a fake wedding ring in the past and carried photos of my niece and nephew as my so-called children when I'm travelling in super conservative regions. I know that I shouldn't have to apologise for being a single solo woman, but sometimes, especially when language is a barrier, these are simple props that will just help you appear connected, that somebody knows where you are.
Yeah, that's such great advice again. And interestingly, research by international luggage storage service Bounce has found that the safest country in the world for solo travellers is Japan. After travelling to Japan, I can certainly see why. It feels really secure and safe when you're there, and the locals are welcoming and helpful. And importantly, they really want you there because they understand the value to their business and economy from tourism.
Yeah, Japan always tops these sorts of lists.
And on that same research, Switzerland and Slovenia came in second and third as safest destinations for solo travellers. And the research actually found overall, when you're taking into account the bigger picture, like things like cost of travel within a country.
Oh, hang on, that rules Australia out.
So the cost of hotels, public transport, the number of attractions, the climate and the food, Croatia is the best choice for the solo traveller, and Malta coming in as the overall second best country, followed by Slovenia.
Well, that makes another reason I'd love to go back to Croatia.
For our second interview this week, who are you chatting to, Belle?
I'm talking to Mark Thompson, a senior executive of Minor Hotels. You might know some of their brands, which include Anantara, Avani and Oaks, which is really big here in Australia. They now have 7 hotels in the Maldives, and I asked Mark, who seems to always be there, why should Australians visit the Maldives? Welcome to the show, Mark. Let's talk the Maldives.
Let's not only talk to the Maldives, let's go there at some point.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Look, we've seen the photos, the turquoise blue ocean, the sandy beaches. It's absolutely gobsmackingly gorgeous. It's the stuff of screensavers as well as dreams. Now, your group has a number of properties in the Maldives, doesn't it?
We do. We have 6, all very different. From family, from, adventure, and good timing because we're just about to launch our 7th in August. So yes.
So my question is, this is a beautiful country, lots of islands, lots of beaches, but we have gorgeous beaches here in Australia. What makes the Maldives different? Why should Aussies go to the Maldives?
Look, yes, Australia has fantastic beaches and everything like that. I just think it's the experience and the warmth of the people and the absolute beauty of the place. I call it the Zoolander of countries. Like, it's just so ridiculously good looking. But your hospitality is bar none. And, this is a country that is literally living off hospitality. So they really know how to look after guests. So it's the people.
But is this? Is it like the ultimate? It is the ultimate fly and flop destination, and it's pitched for a long time. It's just been like the place you go for a honeymoon. Is that it? If I went, and I've been a couple of times, are you just surrounded by honeymooners, like loving it up and taking photos of that turquoise ocean, or is there more to the Maldives than that?
Yeah, well, most of the honeymooners now have kids, probably from their first trip to the Maldives. So there's a lot of families that come back, but also too we are seeing the solo traveller, which hasn't really happened, and I think it's the allure of the place. And yes, there are still the honeymooners and the families and things like that, but there's enough to do as a solo traveller, whether it's snorkeling or getting your paddy license or going diving with whale sharks. There's that adventure aspect to it. So it really is kind of moved from the honeymooners to kind of encompassing every traveller.
Well, that brings me to the next question then. Do you have to have the bank balance of a Russian oligarch to visit? Or do you think it's becoming more affordable? The first time I went there, literally, I saw this enormous ship in the harbour at Malé, and I thought it was the Maldivian Navy. And then I saw these 2 very handsome-looking guys in naval outfits, and so I went, of course, ran up to them and said, "Are you part of the Navy?" And they said, "No, that it was actually a Russian oligarch's ship. Like, it had spa decks all over the joint, and it was only 3 people and a staff of thousands on there." Is it that exclusive, or is it becoming more affordable?
I think it's become a lot more affordable now. I think in terms of like low-cost airlines such as AirAsia, it's making it more affordable. I think the days of, the five-star properties are kind of weaning away. We have just opened Avani Faris, which is in the Bar Atoll, which is a UNESCO site, and it's geared more towards the 4-star or 4+, but it's that more affordable level now. So yes, there are still the 5 stars, and we've got the residences and the movie stars and things like that. But I think in terms of moving forward, it's kind of moved into the direction where it's a little bit more affordable for everybody. I actually think you need to be a Russian oligarch to travel in Australia to some places nowadays.
That is a very good point. So if you're down in the Bar Atoll, then, because I mean that's the structure of the Maldives. Every part of it, each of the different areas has a different experience. What are you going to see? Like, it's a diving area down in the bar?
Oh, definitely for the Bar Atoll. I mean, you can go swimming with whale sharks from November through to January. You've got the manta ray season. For the Bar Atoll as well, we've got Anantariki Harbour, where we've got the largest telescope in the Indian Ocean. So not only do you have that experience underwater, but we have star gurus that take you through billions of years of stargazing and things like that. And I was literally there just recently, and it was such a clear night that you could actually see the rings of Saturn. That's how, I mean, it really is quite spectacular. So you can be as adventurous as you like, or as quiet as you like. But yeah, I mean, each of the atolls are very, very different. We have some of our properties are only 30 minutes from Male Airport by boat. And you go coral planting, or you go swimming with nurse sharks and things like that. So it's the experiences that are really quite unique.
Well, I think to my mind, the overwater bungalow is the classic Maldivian experience. I have slipped from bed, straight down a couple of stairs and into the lagoon with tropical fish around everywhere. It is undoubtedly, indisputably spectacular, and that's a really great point about it being an astro-tourism destination, because it really is in the middle of nowhere. Coming from Australia, what's the easiest way to get across to the Maldives? You skip via, there's no direct flights, you can skip via Singapore. You can go via Colombo in Sri Lanka, which I think would be a great balance of two cultures. What's your favourite way to get across?
Well, I'm based in Bangkok, so I always find it easy to fly from Sydney or Melbourne through to Bangkok, have your nice little Thai experience. And then you've got AirAsia, which is the low-cost airline, that flies twice a week over to Male. So, it makes it that little bit more affordable, and it's only 4-hour flight. So, but you're right. I mean, I also think the Colombo route, and a lot of surfers from Australia end up going to Sri Lanka, do their little bit of surfing, and then head down to somewhere like Niama, which is one of the biggest surfing spots in the Maldives, and they have this absolute fantastic surfing adventure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Surfing is really taking off there, and with discovering more breaks as well, and not just reef breaks, but also beach breaks, which is not very common in the Maldives. So that's, I think, because they've been reef breaks, you've had to go on liveaboard boats and things like that to get, we're talking next level surfing here, which is really incredible. But then you balance it again, as you say, with more affordable properties. Do you still get that sense of it's almost, they trademarked the phrase barefoot glamour, where you're literally wearing some gorgeous bejeweled caftan with no shoes on, going to walking through these beautiful sandy beaches without shoes and your gorgeous caftans and stuff. Does it retain its exclusivity or its sense of glamour?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's always difficult to put your shoes on at the end of the holiday because you know it is the end of your holiday. So
I lost my shoes there once, actually. I took them off on the first day I arrived and never wore a pair of shoes until I left. I couldn't find them. I had to borrow a pair of thongs from the spa, I think.
But I mean, you even know you're in the Maldives when you're on a seaplane and you kind of look at the pilot because the cockpit's open, and even your pilot is barefoot, so you kind of know that you're on a pretty decent holiday if even your pilot has bare feet. So
that's fantastic. When's the best time to go? Is there an off season for the Maldives, or is it just fabulous all year round?
No, there's two seasons. There's high season, and then there's rainy season. I actually think it's better. I mean, talking about affordability and everything like that, to go during rainy season. And it does rain on the odd day, but if you do go, you do expect some days to be rainy, and that's where you can do your wine tasting or hang out in your beautiful villa or whatever, and it's a little bit more affordable. During high season, that's certainly from November through to about March. Your island's a little bit more busy. Your villas are a little bit more expensive. Your wait times to do excursions are a little bit more. So, I mean, pick and choose high season or relatively low season, but during those low seasons you still get the same experience. You might just get a little bit of sprinkling on.
No, I can. Well, if you're underwater, then does it matter if it's raining anyway?
It really doesn't matter.
Really
The fish don't care.
No. So now I'm going to wrap up this conversation with a question that we ask all our guests.
Go on.
Go up. You ready? Ready.
Okay.
The question is, hold on to your pants. What is the most bizarre travel experience you have had in all of your many, many years of traveling the world?
Oh, goodness me. Well, it's not the Maldives because everything's been fabulous in the Maldives. Okay, so I did get drugged on a train, a night train once, by a couple of bandidos that entered my train carriage. And I had just finished reading my Lonely Planet book. That's how long ago it was. And I just finished reading that you don't accept open drinks from anybody. Anyway, so I accepted an open beer because I thought it was going to be a long journey, and I kind of almost passed out, but something kind of took over and it said, "Wake up, Mark, you've got to do this." And then I ended out drinking the guys. So, and by the end of it, I was teaching him how to sing Queen songs and things like that. So,
What country were you in? Did you mention the country?
Should I mention the country?
You can mention the country.
It was a train in Spain. There you go.
Spain. Okay. So the moral of this, the takeout is follow the Lonely Planet advice. Do not accept open drinks from strange men on trains in Spain. And if
you do, then sing along to Freddie Mercury. So yes, there you go.
Oh, thanks so much for that, and thanks for joining us here.
No, thanks a lot.
The World Awaits. Yeah, it's great to have you here, and see you in the Maldives soon. Okay.
Absolutely.
The Maldives has always been high on my bucket list, and it's even more so now after listening to that great interview. Thanks, Belle. If you'd like to find more about the hotels Mark mentioned, visit avanihotels.com and anantara.com, and you'll find the links in our show notes at theworldawaits.au.
And that brings to a close The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods, and you can find us at theworldawaits.au. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Writes on Instagram and Facebook. That's KIRSTIE Writes. And where can people find you, Belle?
You'll find me at globalsalsa.com or Instagram on global_salsa. Thanks for listening. See you next week.